In my last video, I tried to replicate the so-called shutter lag issue on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. While I was happy with the performance, it was outside, it was beautiful, like sunny day, and I knew I needed to test it indoors, and many of you let me know in the comments as well, and in situations where the lighting wasn't ideal. So I got my son and my dog, bless them, to run around indoors while I tried to capture them using the S25 Ultra. I also tested other smartphones as well to see how they handled that same situation. The S24 Ultra, which is right here, the iPhone 16 Pro, and the Pixel 9 Pro as well for good measure. The results, I'm afraid, were all inconsistent across the board, and you can help me judge this as well. They're by no means works of art, gotta be honest, right? These are all a little bit rough around the edges, but I still think there's a better way to approach this when it comes to Samsung. I was just about to talk about single take, but before we do that, one of you actually reminded me that there's another way here that might give you a little bit more freedom when selecting a good shot, and that is by using motion photo. It's been available for a while. Unfortunately, this mode only limits you to 12 megapixels, but it may just save you the best shot. Like anything, right? If you've got the right tool for the job, you're always gonna get better results. Samsung doesn't really have the clever camera modes that we see on the OnePlus 13 or the Honor Magic 7 Pro, but they do have single take, and they've had it for years. I mentioned this in my previous S24 Ultra, S23 Ultra reviews, and I still think it's an underrated feature when there's any movement, right? And you don't want to miss a thing, as immortalized by Aerosmith. In fact, it does an amazing job of automatically selecting the best shots and giving you cool compositions as well for sharing later. It's actually quite a creative mode. It will generate different shots depending on what you recorded and for how long you did it as well. And look, I'm not deflecting from the shutter lag or blurry images issue. It's still there, let's be honest. But as you can see here, it doesn't seem to be a Samsung specific problem. And to be fair, they have improved it. If you really don't want to miss those shots of your kids and pets, I'd suggest kind of learning a little bit more about the Pro mode and Expert RAW as well, and dialing in those optimal shutter speeds and aperture for your own lighting situation, or just use an actual camera, right? You know, regardless of the phone you use, they are still tiny little sensors, and there's a lot of computational photography happening here, but none of them seem to handle this scenario consistently well. As I always say, the best way to review anything, any gadget, is to actually use it. And so I wanted to include this up front and show you some shots that I've done at home. Now onto to another sticking point, the S Pen losing its Bluetooth capability. This thing is generating a lot of noise online. There's a lot of misinformation as well. Part of me can't believe that this is getting so much attention, but I get it. You know, some people see this as a downgrade, and I'm not gonna blame you if you think that. If you really needed that Bluetooth functionality, I do understand you. I actually hope that Samsung finds a way to bring back some of this functionality, either via Bluetooth or not. Maybe even offer an optional S Pen with Bluetooth as an accessory. Some people have been posting about an option there, but that doesn't exist yet. I mean, what you can do with the S Pen right now that not many smartphones or not a single smartphone out there can do is quite a lot actually. Writing notes is the obvious thing, but for me, there's nothing better than, like, as a pastime even, just editing photos in Lightroom. It's a beautiful display. Like I said, I love doing this even on the fold, but using the S Pen for those finer details in Lightroom is definitely, and I don't use this term lightly, is a game changer. Can you do this with other smartphones without an S Pen, just with your finger? Sure, but not with the same accuracy. I still think it's quite disappointing that Samsung did this, but let's not forget, you can still use gestures and voice commands to take pictures and videos. It is the air commands that you're gonna lose them, but other than that, you can still get around it. When it comes to performance, have I noticed anything about the performance on the S25 Ultra in this last week and a half, 2 weeks? The go-to test for me, beyond benchmarks, don't really do those here, but is running intensive games and just doing a lot of photo editing and things like that. I tried Night Crows, which is the game that I think Samsung showed at Unpacked. It's fantastic for pushing a device to its limits. It looks like it's a really heavy game. It takes ages to even just download it. But I set the graphics to max and upped the FPS to the highest level as well. Did the phone get hot? No. Actually, I usually say yes, it did. Up to like 100 degrees and whatever. But I can tell it got a little bit warm even after an hour, nothing major. And here's the thing, I've never seen any, apart from like those specific gaming phones, I've never seen any non-gaming device like this stay cool after an hour of gaming, especially in a game like this. Well, as it turns out, I got a little bit involved in this game. Here's the Genshin Impact game. I just thought I'd give it a go for more than an hour, and almost 2 hours later, don't ask. It did get to the usual temperatures that you see on this game on every single phone that I've tested so far, about 100 degrees or 40 degrees Celsius. This is running at max settings, to be fair, 60 FPS. And I don't know what it is about this particular game, but it always pushes mobile devices to its limits. I also tried other games like Diablo, Sky, which has some amazing visuals, and Wuthering Waves as well. And honestly, the phone has behaved beautifully across all those games. You know, I haven't played like 3 hours at a pop, almost like 45 minutes max in each of those. Samsung's cooling performance here is impressive. No drop frames, no stutters. The experience is top notch here for gaming. So far anyway. If you have any suggestions for me to include in the next videos when I compare that with the iPhone and others, for any games that you think would be even better to push it, I will do that. I'm also going to try some gaming emulators to really push this, but this Snapdragon Samsung pairing feels like a match made in heaven so far. And on top of that, I've noticed a much faster phone overall. I don't usually do this opening apps and whatever, but I can just feel it that even downloading and installing an app is noticeably quicker than anything. Maybe it's because I was using the iPhone recently. Yeah, things I have to do for content, right? On a serious note, the iPhone has this, I don't know, this just feels much slower than anything out there in terms of Android phones in 2024, 2025. To be fair, it's not that the iPhone is terrible. It's just that the S25 Ultra seems to be in a completely different league when compared to the iPhone. How was that transition? League, Champions League, huh? Okay, never mind. I'll try. Another question I've been getting is about the speakers. As always, within the limitations here of my space and the equipment, and of course, your listening device, you know, whatever YouTube does to the compression as well. But let's give them a listen. Headphones are recommended for this bit.
Pensei em colocar os troféus aqui na estante, ó. Todo mundo sempre pergunta como é que foi lá na Inglaterra. Aí você vai poder contar de quando você era piloto. Pensei em colocar os troféus aqui na estante, ó. Todo mundo sempre pergunta como é que foi lá na Inglaterra. Aí você vai poder contar de quando você era piloto. Pensei em colocar os troféus aqui na estante, ó. Todo mundo sempre pergunta como é que foi lá na Inglaterra. Aí você vai poder contar de quando você era piloto.
It can be subjective, but let me know what you thought. Always think it's amazing what these devices can do in such a tiny little space. But there are limitations. When it comes to cameras, I always find it's best to take the phone out for a proper spin as well, not just in a controlled environment with studio lighting. I've been focused a lot on shutter speed tests, which quite frankly, I'm done with it now. Instead, I have been exploring other aspects of the cameras recently, and there's loads more to do, but you'll see in my buying guide soon that the cameras probably won't be the reason to upgrade from the S24 Ultra, but here's how they perform. I've taken portrait shots, landscapes, and some architecture shots as well. One major issue that I had with the S24 Ultra and even the S23 Ultra was the processing of 50 meg expert RAW images. I saw a lot of grain, and maybe it was just me not editing the photo afterwards or whatever. Pushing the smartphone to 200 megapixel, which was possible here as well, is incredible. And I don't know, what a time to be alive, right? But it does feel like those grainy issues that I had on the S24 Ultra and the S23 Ultra too, they're not there now. But the exposure issues that I noticed on the S24 Ultra, which was, I don't know, very frustrating for me, they are still there. Highlights in the background get overexposed, especially indoors. I mean, you know, if you see a typical photo like you in a restaurant or indoors, and there's a window, most cameras will struggle with this, to be fair. But with Expert RAW, you can add a virtual ND filter and get all the control that you need to properly expose the shots. Now, you're not gonna use Expert RAW for any, you know, kind of a shot that you're gonna do for just sharing with your friends. But for that one Instagram worthy shot that you wanna kind of make the best of the shot, this mode is perfect and I definitely recommend it. For most situations, like point and shoot, it's fine, right? But if you want more control, if you want to be able to edit or even just let the phone do the editing for you in the Expert RAW, it's nice to have that option. Not to mention how great video is looking on the S25 Ultra now. I mean, this smooth zoom that as you can see here that I'm showing is super useful to have. I mean, there is a slight jump from sometimes from 3.9x to 4x, but it's very, very gentle, very subtle. This is getting so good now. And not only we're getting log footage, which I've showed you here before, looks fantastic, but just 4K 60 is incredible. I'm also gonna do an 8K video. Honestly, can't wait to share that with you. And one of the best things as well is that you can now record to an external storage. That for me is a huge plus as well, because there are solutions out there. I'll share a couple in here, but basically means you don't really need to worry about filling up your phone storage. All of this is making the S25 Ultra a pro camera device, especially for video, and is making me think, why do I need an iPhone again? We'll be right back. Now, when it comes to the display, watching content, playing games has been a treat on this. It's the most immersive screen at this size, minimal distractions, no silly island at the top here, slim bezels, and that anti-reflective coating, which is now even better than the S24 Ultra now. Amazing stuff, right? We are at a point now where I can talk about the battery a bit more. It's had it over a week to adapt to my usage, and so far, I'm impressed. And I know what you're thinking, so-and-so creator may have said that this battery is actually not that good, but I can only report my experience. I'm impressed, but what I class as a busy day, and you've seen, some of my videos here, they are very busy. I'd sometimes spend over an hour just on the camera, taking lots of clips of 4K 60, raw photos. I am really busy, but some people can go even further and maybe play a game for like 3-4 hours. I'm not that guy. I've got a job and I've got other things to do. Could it be better though? I'd say yes, but I've been getting through a busy day, like shooting 4K 60 clips, navigation, long work calls, like conference calls, gaming, and even some hotspot usage as well, sharing this with other phones, with some juice left at bedtime. And that to me is the minimum for a flagship device. If I can get through a busy day, this is exactly what I wanted on the S24 Ultra, to be honest, but I personally didn't get. And the Magic 7 Pro is actually the only phone that I've tested so far that consistently lasts, that full busy, similar kind of busy day of filming and using it for work without needing to top up and going into the next day a bit more. For anyone worried though about battery life on the S25 Ultra, don't be. There's no need to be worried about it so far. A full day of use for me is more than enough for most people. I did it again. Many of you said that this aspect ratio here, I can even extend my hands almost all the way, is better for removing the black bars on smartphones, so I kept it. I know it doesn't do this for every phone, but most newer phones, it would be nicer to watch this. And depending on your monitor, this is nice too. The downside for me is that you might not see my next videos because YouTube, well, let's say they're just busy with other things. I really appreciate your interaction in this video. Sharing it with your friends who like tech would mean a lot to me because I'm losing this ability to get you to stay on this channel, and it's free to share, so please help me there. No sponsors today either, so sharing is the best way to support me today. Plenty more content is on the way, including my buying guide, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.